Hi, today we're going to be talking about renaming fractions, especially when you have an improper fraction and you have to change it to a proper fraction, or when you have a mixed number and you want to change it to an improper fraction. So let's first, before we start, review what we know about fractions. First of all, a fraction is made up of two numbers. We have a top number called the numerator. We have a fraction bar, which is going to be important. And we have the bottom number, which is the denominator, which tells how many parts things are divided into. We call a fraction a proper fraction when the numerator is smaller than the denominator. An improper fraction is when the numerator is greater than the denominator. So for example, a proper fraction would be 2/3 because 2 is less than 3. An improper fraction would be 11/3 because 11 is greater than 3. So you might say, how do I go from 11/3 to a mixed number? How do I make it so it's no longer an improper fraction? Well, like I said, the fraction bar is going to be really important. You need to remember from the lesson that we looked at the other day that the fraction bar really means divide. So numerator over denominator is really like a division sign. So when we have 11/3, we're really saying it's 11 divided by 3. So when we do that math problem, 3 goes into 11 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 11 minus 9 is 2. We have our 2 left over. When you were writing this when you were in younger grades, you would say this was 3 remainder 2. But you need to remember that this number, your remainder, becomes your new numerator, and your denominator is your divisor. So 11/3 is another way of saying 3 2/3. I'm going to have you do some problems to practice that along with me. So if you'll take out a piece of paper, you can try some of these with me. Let's look at 14/5. We know that's an improper fraction because 14 is greater than 5. We also know that it's a division problem because of the fraction bar. So we have 14 divided by 5. And we do our division problem. 5 goes into 14 twice. 2 times 5 is 10. 14 minus 10 is 4. Here is our number that's left over, so that becomes our numerator, and 5 is our denominator. Now we're going to look at how do we rename a mixed number to an improper fraction. Let's look at the mixed number 2.5. Some of you might be able to visualize things better if I draw a picture. So I'm going to draw 2 whole circles that are shaded in, and then another circle where half of the circle is shaded in to represent that 2.5. Now you might want to think of it like this. This is one whole circle. If we divide it into 2 parts so that they're all the same, we could say this is 2 halves plus 2 halves plus the 1/2 here. Since we have all of our denominators are the same, we just add the numerators. 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5, and our denominator is 2. And you could do that for every fraction, but it's going to become quite time intensive if you are doing something for, say, 123 4/5. You would not really want to divide 123 circles into 5 parts. So there is an algorithm that you can use to rename a mixed number into an improper fraction. And if we look at the picture, it's going to make sense. When we have 2.5, we saw that we had 2 whole circles. We divided them each into 2. So we had 2 circles in 2 parts. So we had 2 times 2. And then we added the one part that was left to find out what our total was. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And our denominator remains the 2 for halves. So let's look at a couple of those and see if that makes sense to you. If I have 6 4/5, 6 times 5 is 30. 30 plus 4 is 34. And our denominator is fifths. I wanted to look at another problem that I just forgot to talk to you about with a improper fraction. What if I had 123 thirds? Remember, it's just a division problem. So I would take 123 and divide it by 3. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. I go to my next column. Bring down the 3. 3 goes into 3 once. And you'll notice here we have 0 as a remainder. So this would just be the whole number 41. Let's look at one more example of changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. If I have 7 2/7, say 7 times 7 is 49. 49 plus 2 is 51. 51/7. There's a worksheet that I'd like you to complete with this. Please make sure that you show your work so that if you're having any problems, I can usually figure out what it is that you're doing wrong. Remember too, you can always post a question on the forum and I will get back to you. I hope this made sense to you. Bye.